like to thank the organizing committee to inviting me to this conference to share this study entitled Chakras, Energies, Deficiencies as the Main Cause of Alzheimer's Disease. I know that Western medicine do not agree with this title, and I will explain this presentation in the energy point of view according to some ancient medical traditions such as traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. According to Western medicine, Alzheimer's disease is a neurodegenerative disorder involving memory, language, attention, comprehension, reasoning, and judgment. And dementia is also a general term that refers to a decline in cognitive ability severe enough to interfere with activities of daily living. And Alzheimer's disease is the most common type of dementia, accounting for at least 2/3 of cases of dementia in patients ages 65 and older. And Alzheimer's disease is characterized by an accumulation of abnormal neurotic plaques and neurofibrillary tangles. This is according to Western medicine. Symptoms of Alzheimer's disease depend on the state of the disease, and Alzheimer's disease is classified into preclinical or presymptomatic, mild, and dementia stage, depending on the degree of cognitive impairment. And the most reliable method to detect mild cognitive impairment in early disease is neuropsychological testing. There is no cure according to Western medicine for Alzheimer's disease, but only symptomatic treatment is available. And 2 categories of drugs are approved for the treatment of Alzheimer's disease, such as cholinesterase partial and methyl aspartate antagonists. And this presentation will be following Hippocrates Thought that said that foolish the doctor who despises the knowledge acquired by the ancient. So in this presentation, I will use traditional Chinese medicine reasoning to understand what is happening in the energy point of view to develop Alzheimer's disease. In traditional Chinese medicine, the function and clarity of the spirit depend on the accumulation of qi in the heart. Qi is the energy that circulates inside the body to our health, to survive. And however, qi depends on the transformation of blood essence and could be caused by malnutrition of the heart, by blood in essence, and dampness or blood stasis. And there are many other energy imbalances inside the body that can develop all the symptoms presented by Alzheimer's disease. And Alzheimer's disease in traditional Chinese medicine is not caused by the alterations in the brain, because the energy that's circulating is systemic, is not a local manifestation. And all these energies circulating inside the body, but what is affecting mostly in patients with Alzheimer, that is the lack of memory and concentrations, and such as confusion, trouble following conversation, trouble with family tasks, and changes in mood. These are all symptoms caused by these energy alterations inside the body that I will explain to you what could be happening in all these patients. So in all my presentation, I usually use this tree metaphor to you to understand what I want to say. This tree is symbolizing the human body, and this tree is divided in 2 parts, the part below the earth and the part under the earth. The part below the earth is composed by the trunk with several branches, and each branch, coming out of each branch, you can see many leaves. And each branch represents one medical specialty in Western medicine, such as orthopedic, pediatric, neurology, cardiovascular, pneumology, etc. And coming out of each branch represents one disease and symptom treated by each specialty. In this case, Alzheimer is a symptom or disease treated by neurology specialty. But traditional Chinese medicine, they understand that all symptoms and disease in each specialty is not a local manifestation, is resulted by the imbalances of energy that exists in the root of this tree that we usually cannot see because they are invisible by the naked eye and they are under this earth. And also traditional Chinese medicine understand that the external pathogenic factors can influence the development of many diseases in the humans, such as the influence of a cold wind, heat, humidity, and dryness. And this could be very important in infectious disease problems, especially, but when these factors can come inside the body, they can cause imbalances in this root and leading to symptoms in this leaf level. In this root, you can see that there are two main theories, that yin-yang theory and the 5-element theory that I will explain to you. What is happening in this root that is causing Alzheimer's symptom in this leaf level? Yin and yang are, this is symbolizing this symbol. This is yang, this is yin. Yin and yang are two energy that is opposite, but they are complementary, such as man and woman, day and night, cold and hot, positive and negative, sun and moon, light and dark, heaven and earth, active and passive, fire and water, above, below, heat, cold, generation, and growth. And these are two energies that exist in all our universe and all inside the human body. There is the necessity of having this equilibrium between these four forces to achieve health. And when the patient has this equilibrium between these two energies, there is the development of so many diseases that we are having the leaf level of that tree. And these are the different energy imbalances that the patient can have between yin and yang. And the balanced state is what we aim in all kinds of treatments according to traditional Chinese medicine. So in Alzheimer's disease, we aim to balance these two energies to patient to achieve health. And when the patient has some energy deficiency, such as when there is yin deficiency or yang deficiency, yin deficiency is very common in patients with diabetes. Diabetes in Chinese medicine, in the root of that tree, means that when yin deficiency and formation of internal fire, that I will explain to you what's this. And there are so many other diseases that came from these energy deficiencies. For example, a woman in menopause, when she feels hot flashes, this can come from these energy imbalances in deficiency. And there are so many publications that I'm writing about these energy imbalances leading to symptoms in the leaf level, showing the necessity of using this kind of therapy nowadays when the patient do not have are not controlling hyperglycemia, because the use of dietary aspects and tools used by Western medicine in some points of treatment, they are not balancing this yin and yang energy and leading to a failure of the treatment. And that's why I am presenting in the necessity of integrating the Western and traditional Chinese medicine to understand why the patient is still not controlling some resulting in have a good result in the treatment, even using the dietary aspect or using the medication indicated for the treatment of this patient, because they are still having these energy alterations in the root. And the yang deficiency is when the patient is feeling colder in the lower limbs or cold hands. I think this situation is very common in women, especially in women nowadays. And this is very common in yang deficiency when the patient has urinary incontinence or recurrent pregnancy losses or obesity or liquid retention edema. There are so many combination of these energy alterations that can lead to alterations in the leaf level. And this is the main cornerstone of all the treatment in traditional Chinese medicine. In TCM, they aim to balance these four forces to achieve health to this patient independently on the type of diagnosis that the patient has, because all the treatment in TCM aims to balance these four energy to achieve health in all kinds of disease, such as diabetes, hypertension, myocardial infarction, strokes, Alzheimer, and dementia, and autoimmune disease. All kind of disease aims to balance these four forces. And when these four forces are imbalanced, when there is deficiency of one or a combination of deficiencies between these four forces, there is a formation of internal fire inside the body that is responsible for so many clinical manifestations in the leaf level of this tree. And this is very important to you to know. This slide is the cornerstone of the treatment of all kinds of disease, including Alzheimer's disease. In this case, how can we do the diagnosis of these energy deficiencies or alterations in the energy situation in the root of this tree that we are not usually studying in our patients? To see if the patient has indeficiency, you can ask the patient if he feels hotter or colder. If the patient feels hotter, it means that he has indeficiency. And the yang deficiency is when the patient feels cold, but the patient can have the two kinds of deficiency also. The patient can feel hot and cold. And normally when the patient can, you cannot know which is the energy that the patient has deficient, you can ask, oh, you usually feel cold or hot in the feet when you are sleeping. Because when the patient is sleeping, if the patient has indeficiency, he usually uncover the feet when they are sleeping. And when the patient has yang deficiency, usually the patient is covering their feet when they are sleeping, even in the summer. Blood deficiency means that the patient has, the question that I usually use is, do you go to the bathroom to do the daily bowel movement every day? If the patient do not daily bowel movement every day, this could mean blood deficiency. And indeficiency is the question that you ask the patient is, do you sweat abnormally during the day? If the patient is sweating without doing any exercise, this means that the patient has Qi deficiency. And the question to see if the patient is having this heat retention, is the fifth energy imbalance, is to ask if the patient has bad breath or dry mouth or bleeding gums or abdominal pain or itchiness, acne in the skin or redness in the skin. All these symptoms are symptoms that you can know that the patient is forming this internal fire. And this internal fire exists in all kinds of infection. Nowadays has this pattern of energy. Community or hospital infection has this pattern of energy, and there are so many publications that I have online showing that we can treat community and also hospital infection without using any antibiotics, because I'm the cause of manifestation in all kinds of disease, as I told you, in the leaf level is caused by these energy imbalances in the root. And these energy imbalances in the root is the cause of all kinds of manifestation in the leaf level, and also considering the influence of these external pathogenic factors. And that's why Western medicine nowadays are not considering these factors as inducers or formation as inducers of formation of some disease. And that is why we need to increase this knowledge to orientate the patient to avoid the ingestion or be exposed to wind and cold that are very important factors that are inducing the formation of disease. For example, the formation of hospital infection. It's very common nowadays to us to see the patient in the hospital be submitted in the cold environment in the hospital, because in Western medicine they understand that cold can inhibit the reproduction of bacteria, but Western medicine do not understand that cold and wind is the main factor of inducing disease, especially infectious disease in the human. And that is why this is the different viewpoints that we need to understand what is causing the formation of some disease. And the second theory is the 5-element theory. In the root of these three, the 5 elements corresponds to wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And these 5 elements exist in our universe and also inside the human body. And the organs that are representing these five elements are liver, heart, spleen, lung, and kidney. Each organ represents each element in the 5-element theory. And these 5 elements, you can see that they are interconnected by the energy flow. Kidney is sending energy to the liver, liver sends energy to the heart, heart sends energy to the spleen, and spleen sends energy to the lung, and lung to the kidney. And this is very important to us to know, because in Western medicine, they understand that one organ works independently and separately, and one organ do not exert influence on the other organ. And in TCM, they understand that one organ is sending energy to the proper functioning of the other organ, and one organ can control the functioning of the other organ. And for example, in the case of Alzheimer, the organ that is the most important organ that's affected is the kidney. The kidney is the organ that is responsible for the memory and concentration, that is the most symptom affected in Alzheimer's disease. But there are also other symptoms that is affecting these patients, such as the patient could have depression or insomnia or other symptoms, but all these symptoms are is caused by these energy alterations in these 5 internal massive organs. And why I said the chakras energy center. Chakras energy centers are studied by Ayurvedic medicine, but there are some studies correlating the chakras energy centers with the 5-element theory in traditional Chinese medicine. And when I say chakras energy centers, I am saying the internal massive organs in traditional Chinese medicine. So in this title, I could say energy alterations in Alzheimer's disease, meaning that the patient has energy alterations that are leading to this formation of the disease. And in TCM, Alzheimer is not localized in the brain, but Alzheimer is a symptom caused by the energy alterations in the internal massive organs that is outside the brain. And each internal massive organs, they are responsible for one external sensorial organ. For example, liver is responsible for eye and vision. Heart is responsible for tongue and communication. This is a very important organ that is affected in autism patient that I presented in my first presentation in this conference. In one or 2 months ago. And the spleen is responsible for the taste, and the lung is responsible for sense of smell, and the kidney is responsible for the hearing process. And all the problems in these external sensorial organ in traditional Chinese medicine, they do not treat the affected organ, but they treat the internal massive organ that is commanding these external sensorial organ. For example, when the patient has low hearing process and are not hearing adeptly, Western medicine is putting the machine to the patient to hear. But the real problem is the lack of energy inside the internal massive organ, that's the kidney, that is the same organ that's affected in Alzheimer's disease. But as I told you, kidney depends on the energy on the lung, and lung depends on the energy on the spleen. And I will show you which are these energy alterations that is leading to the symptoms in Alzheimer's disease in the leaf lab. All this reasoning began in 2006 when I treated one specific patient, and I will briefly show you his history to understand how I began to have this reasoning. He was a 70-year-old male patient that came to my clinic due to leg pain, and he was not improving, only using anti-inflammatory medication for the last 6 months. And he went to my clinic and I did his diagnosis in Chinese medicine in the root of that tree, and he had a deficiency in the water element in the kidney because he was feeling colder in his lower limbs. And I started the treatment with alteration in his dietary according to Chinese dietary counseling. Chinese dietary counseling is orientated the patients according to the energy that each food had to treat these energy imbalances in the root of this tree. And also I did the systemic and auricular acupuncture with apex bloodletting. These are all procedures in traditional Chinese medicine to rebalance the internal energy of yin and qi and blood. And after 30 days of treatment, after 10 acupuncture sessions, he returned to my clinic and told me that he improved very much from his condition of leg pain, but he also improved from another condition that he was treating that I was not aware that he was having, sorry, he was treating for glaucoma for the last 40 years with no improvement of his condition, only using eye drops. Sorry, let me take some water. And the first time of his life after this treatment for leg pain, his intraocular pressure reduced from 40 to 17, but I was not aware that he had glaucoma. And for this reason, I told you that the treatment of this root level will treat all the patient's conditions, emotional or physical symptoms in any kinds of specialties at the same time. Even the doctor does not know that the patient has such a symptom because he was having leg pain in the orthopedic specialty, and the cause of his leg pain was these energy imbalances in this root. That was deficiency in the kidney water element here. But when I treated rebalancing this internal energy, he improved all the symptoms. He had glaucoma here in the ophthalmologist specialty, but I was not aware. He didn't tell me when he went to my clinic. But treating these energy imbalances in the root, it was possible to treat all the patient's condition because all symptoms and disease in all kinds of specialty came from these energy imbalances in the root. And that is why I am saying that Alzheimer's disease is only the leaf level of this treat. The real cause of the clinical manifestation of Alzheimer's is not a lack of memory, it can be anxiety, depression, and all kinds of symptoms in any specialties leading to the Alzheimer's disease is not in the leaf. The problem is on the root. But I told you, chakra, I am saying chakra because there is a correlation between chakras, energy centers, with the 5-element theory in traditional Chinese medicine. And when I measure the chakras energy center that is studied by Ayurvedic medicine, I am studying the 5-element theory in traditional Chinese medicine that I will show you in this presentation. This is a research that I did in my clinic in Brazil. From 2015 to 2020, studying 1,000 patients' chakras energy centers. This is a figure demonstrating what is the chakras energy centers. There are 7 chakras, but they are not visible by the naked eye. They are only energy concentrations inside the body. That is very important to send the energy to the internal organs and glands to their proper functioning. But there are some studies in the literature, such as this study written by Chase in 2018 entitled Geometry of Emotion, that he is correlating the chakras energy centers with the 5 elements in the 5-element theory in traditional Chinese medicine. When I measure the energy of these chakras energy centers, I can measure the energy of the internal massive organs in TCM. For example, this is the first chakra representing the liver, the second chakra represents the kidney, the third is representing the heart, the fourth is representing the lung, and the fifth is representing the spleen. Each organ is responsible for the formation of that 4 forces. For example, liver and lung is responsible for distribution of qi or production of qi. And the spleen is responsible for the absorption of nutrients and production of blood. And the heart is responsible for controlling the blood flow inside the blood vessels. And the second chakra is the kidney, is responsible for the formation of that yin and yang. And for this reason, all the 4 forces, yin yang, qi, and blood, is produced by these 5 chakras energy centers. And the 6th chakra is the main chakra related to Alzheimer's disease, is the memory and concentration is in this chakra, but this chakra is the responsibility of this chakra is made by the kidney. That is why kidney is responsible for the memory and concentration energy. And that is why when the patient with Alzheimer's disease has the main symptom in Alzheimer's disease is the lack of memory and concentration, memory. And the patient, I will tell you one patient in this presentation to show you that she has these alterations that has Alzheimer's disease. And here is to show you in this research that not only Alzheimer's disease has these alterations in the chakras energy centers, but nowadays all kinds of population, all kinds of patients, independently on the diagnosis, are having these energy deficiencies in the 5 internal massive organs. This is prior to COVID-19 pandemic. This study was made during 2015 to 2020. Analyzing 1,000 patients. And in this research, I studied babies, children, adolescents, young adults, and older patients, measuring these energies through a crystal pendulum called the radiesthesia procedure. And depending on the rotation that this pendulum is heavy, if clockwise or counterclockwise, and depending on the amplitude of this rotation, you can know if this chakra or internal massive organs has energy or not. But when there is one is when the pendulum or the crystal is not rotating, it is still there, it do not rotate. This means that the patient do not have energy inside that organ that we are studying. And the majority of the patients are having one as a result. And this means that no organ have energy. And when the organ is not working to the production of that yin and blood that I told you, this is causing this is the cause of the majority of disease in the leaf level of this tree. And you can see that not only patients with Alzheimer's disease are having lack of memory. We can see that even us today, we are having lack of memory because the sixth chakra.
Hi, my name
is not having energy in the majority of our patients, even children, adolescent, young adults, and older patients, they are having less energy in the memory and concentration. And only 80% of my patients have energy in the spiritual chakra. This is the spiritual chakra, but 20% do not have energy in the spiritual chakra also. And this patient is, research was published in an article entitled Energy Alterations and Propensity to Have COVID-19 Infection, because nowadays we are having this pandemic probably due to these energy alterations, because this energy means our immune system. And there is another publication that I will show you, showing that the majority of us that are having vaccination to COVID-19 are immune compromised, not immune competent, due to this energy deficiency situation. And this is not caused by only patients with high risks, but all patients nowadays are in high risks for having COVID-19 or other disease, such as cancer in children and young adults, or myocardial infarction in young patients because of this energy deficiency situation. And these are the two articles that I showed. This data is published in these two articles. Are we vaccinating immune competent or immune compromised people for COVID-19? This article, I'm saying that we are vaccinating immune compromised because the immune system and the energy of our population is very low. I am generalizing this result that I did in my clinic in Brazil to the whole globe, because this lack of energy is caused by the influence of the electromagnetic radiation of the 4G and 5G technology that we cannot see because they are invisible, but they are affecting our health and leading to this less energy deficiency. And also in this this article saying that we are having more propensity to have COVID-19 due to this energy deficiency. And this is a case report that I will bring you today in this presentation. She is an 82-year-old female patient that was treating depression for the last 20 years using antidepressant medication with no improvement of her condition of depression. But she was using for 20 years. And her daughter said recently she was not she was getting very old and she was worried about her condition because she was having a severe lack of memory and concentration. And the things that she needed to do in her daily life in her home. For example, if she wanted to wash something in the kitchen, she rapidly can forget what she needed to do. And recently, she only wanted to lie down in the bed. And I measure her internal energy, and what I found what all her chakras energy centers were in the lowest level of energy, like in this, in that slide that I showed. And these are the medication that she is using nowadays for treatment of Alzheimer. This is for hypertension, and this is for asthma. She is treating asthma using this kind of medication. And the antidepressant medication is not here. And all are high concentrated medications. And this is the glass that I'm showing. I went to her house to drink a coffee, and this glass has 66 years old, and she told me that this is when she married a 66-year-old years ago. And this is to tell you that Alzheimer's disease, you need to have she had a long life to achieve this Alzheimer, but there are some things in her life that brings this Alzheimer's disease, such as the use of many kinds of medications that I will tell you why the medications can worse the way to go to Alzheimer. And what I did was to change all her dietary aspect, because she wants her dietary habits is to drink cow's milk every morning with coffee. And dairy product is a very important food that is causing energy imbalances and less absorption of nutrients by the spleen. In this, the spleen is this 50th chakra, and all that food that I told you can reduce the absorption of nutrients by the spleen. The ingestion of dairy products, cold water, raw food, and sweets. All these foods are very common in Western cuisine, and that can cause energy deficiency in the spleen and causing less absorption of nutrients, leading to less production of blood and leading to propensity to have disease in the future. And also, I told you to her to avoid the ingestion of coffee, soda, and matcha tea, because all these drinks can reduce the kidneys energy or second chakra that's responsible for yin and yang energy. And here is to show you that I also orientate her to avoid all these food, fried food, egg, honey, coconut, alcoholic beverages, and melted cheese, because all these food can induce the formation of internal fire that is causing the symptoms. The symptoms, she had all these symptoms of itchiness in the skin that I didn't tell you, that could be caused by these energy alterations, but due to these energy deficiencies that she is having in the root. And I did her the apex ear bloodletting to take out the heat that is formed in the leaf, in the root level, and also I did the auricular acupuncture points to balance the internal 5 massive organs. This is the kidney, this is the liver, this is the spleen, this is the lung, heart and lung. To rebalance all the internal organs, to tone them, to begin to produce the energy. And also I did the systemic acupuncture, also with the aim to balance these 4 forces, yin, yang, qi, and blood, and to treat the 5 internal massive organs. And to treat this energy deficiency condition, I used the highly diluted medication to replenish the energy of these organs according to the generation cycle. The main organ that I wanted to treat is the kidney. The kidney is responsible for the yin and yang and responsible for the memory and concentration. But as I told you, kidney depends on the energy of the liver, the lungs, sorry. The lung, and the lung depends energy on the spleen. And as I told you, all the organs are in the lowest level of energy. And the spleen depends on the energy of the heart, that is without energy, and heart depends on the energy of the liver. And that's why to treat the kidney, that's the main organ affected in Alzheimer's disease, I need to treat the whole system, because one depends on the other and one controls the other to their proper functioning. And this is not only happening in Alzheimer's disease, all kinds of disease nowadays, such as diabetes, hypertension. My patients with myocardial infarction also have these deficiencies in the roots. And that's why there's some articles that I'm showing the necessity of treating the leaf level in Western medicine. They are only doing the disobstruction of the artery in the coronary artery, but what has in this background is these energy deficiencies leading to the stagnation of blood, because the body of this patient do not have energy even to circulate this blood inside the blood vessels. And also to tone the memory and concentration, we needed to tone the kidney, and also using some diets to improve the kidney's energy, or eating pig's kidney is good to improve the memory and concentration. And also to eat more dry beans, black beans, or other black fruits. And the result of this treatment is to replenish all these internal massive organs, to improve all the symptoms in Alzheimer's disease. The patient, this patient, she was having depression symptom. Depression is also caused by these energy deficiencies in the internal massive organs. And I have other publications showing that depression is the name in the leaf level, but what is causing the depression symptom is the real cause is the lack of energy inside the patient's body. And nowadays, the treatment of depression is the aim of the treatment aims to replenish this energy of the internal massive organs using high diluted medication. And you can use acupuncture also is very good tool to rebalance this energy, and the patient can improve. When you use, there is another publication that I show you why the patients with depression do not improve their symptom when using antidepressant medication. Is the case of this patient because she was using antidepressant medication for 20 years and she didn't improve, because all medications in high concentration can harm even more this vital energy that's already very low, as I will show you in this ArnoldSchwarz Law created in 1888 by 2 German researchers. And in this graph, you can see that they say in this law that the use of any kind of high concentrated medication will reduce even more this vital energy. And that's why in this case, I'm using highly diluted medications such as homeopathy medications to treat this condition of lack of energy. And the homeopathy, for this reason, homeopathy is the medication of choice in the treatment of all kinds of disease, because all kinds of disease nowadays has in this background these energy deficiencies in the root caused by the modernization of our telecommunication of our world. And I think we will not live nowadays without the use of our cell phones and computers, and that's why we need to treat these alterations that all these devices is causing in our body. And the use of antidepressant medication for 20 years in these patients led to worsening of her symptoms and could be the cause of the Alzheimer's disease in this patient because of chronic use of high concentrated medications. And here are some articles that I'm showing to you. Here's the theory that I wrote in 2015 entitled Constitutional Homeopathy of the 5 Elements Based on Traditional Chinese Medicine. Is a new theory in homeopathy because homeopathy was created by Hahnemann more than 240 years ago. He's a German research physician that created homeopathy, and homeopathy is a very good medication to be used in this new type of population that has energy deficiency in the 5 internal mass organs. But homeopathy is not well known the mechanism of action, because they use the reasoning of similimon. The symptoms presented by the patient can be treated by a substance that can give that symptom. And in this case, it's very good medication, but they do not know how is the mechanism of action of homeopathy medication until nowadays. And for this reason, I created this new theory in homeopathy, linking with traditional Chinese medicine that has more than 5,000 years and has a very good mechanism of disease formation and transformation and the energy flow. All of these mechanisms is explained very well in TCM, and that's why linking homeopathy with TCM, I can explain all the mechanisms of formation of any kinds of disease, but using a Western medication. Because when the patient has this deficiency in China, they usually use Chinese dietary counseling, acupuncture, but they usually use Chinese herbs to tone this energy. But the Chinese herb is not very adequately nowadays for this new type of population that we are having nowadays, because of the Chinese herbs is also considered high concentrated medication and can induce formation of more internal heat because can reduce even more this vital energy and leading to complications. And here are some other publications that I'm saying that homeopathy is a best medication to give to elderly patients, because in this publication, I am showing research that I did in I think 35 older patients, and measuring their energy, and the majority of them were in the lowest level of energy, like in the table that I show you, the results. And meaning that if we need to medicate or treat the patient, elderly patients, we need to use high diluted medication to improve their vital energy. And improving this vital energy, the patient will not only improve their symptom and disease, such as depression, insomnia, diabetes, hypertension, all of these disease common in elderly patients are in the root level of these three that are the energy alterations. And also, when you improve the energy of the internal 5 massive organs, the patient will rejuvenate, the patient will appear 10 or 15 years younger than they have, and the hair that's white became gray, and after became black again, because all these alterations in the elderly patients are caused by these energy deficiencies in the 5 internal massive organs. And here is another publication showing that homeopathy is the medication of choice for the treatment of COVID-19 infection also, because as I show you, prior to the pandemic, the majority of patients are in the lowest level of energy. And when we treat these patients with high concentrated medication, the patient will worsen their energy condition and will increase the formation of internal fire. That's the cause of the inflammatory process in the phase 2 and 3 of COVID-19 infection. And the energy alteration is not studied by Western medicine, but what's happening in COVID-19 infection is caused by the energy alteration that the patient has prior to this infection. And the majority of the signs and symptoms caused by this infection is not only caused by the virus, but by the energy alterations that the patient has in the root, such as the lack of taste and smell is caused by energy deficiency in the spleen and lung energy. As I told you, the spleen is responsible for the sense of taste, and the sense of smell is the responsibility by the lung. And here is to show you why homeopathy or high diluted medication is the medication of choice in the treatment of all kinds of disease due to this new energy pattern of our population. And there is another study that I presented last year in another conference showing that the type of medication that we need to use will depend on the type of population that we have nowadays. And the patients that we are having nowadays is considered very reduced in the vital energy, and that's why we needed to change the type of medication that we are prescribing to do no harm to this vital energy that's already low. And this is another article saying, is the population in the world the same as in the past? I wrote last year, showing that the population that we are treating is not the same as in the past. So they change it. They are very deficient in energy. So we needed to change the type of medication that we are using to do no harm or to lead to more complication or even death of this patient. And this is the article that I published, this research measuring the 1,000 patient chakras energy centers. And here are so many articles in a variety of specialty, gynecology, obstetric, cancer. Patients with abnormal uterine bleeding has this energy deficiency in the 5 internal massive organs. And even using hormones nowadays, the patient could worsen their condition of abnormal uterine bleeding, because the real cause of this bleeding is not hormonal imbalance, but energy deficiencies, and leading to formation of that internal fire. And the abnormal uterine bleeding, for example, is the way the body is releasing that formation of that fire. And if you don't treat this condition of energy deficiencies and taking out the heat using all these tools that I explained to you, the patient will need to take out the womb and the uterus, and that's why women nowadays are not having womb, because they are only doing surgery without treating the real cause of this problem. And the patients that has any kinds of cancer nowadays has these energy deficiencies. And I know chakras and energy deficiencies at the genesis of breast cancer. All cancer has in the background these energy deficiencies that has for more than 15 or 20 years of energy deficiencies to lead to a cancer in the future. And that is why to prevent the formation of any cancer, we need to treat this energy deficiency. And to prevent Alzheimer's disease, we need to treat these energy deficiencies before the development. And one of the reasons to do not develop Alzheimer's disease is to prevent all the things that can reduce this vital energy. And the first thing is to avoid any medication that could harm this vital energy that's already very low, and also avoid the ingestion of foods that could harm that, for example, to avoid the dairy products and coffee and cold water, depending on the energy of these patients. And also there's something, to prevent reduce the use of cell phones and computers, or that are some medication that we have called quantic medication that can block the radiation, the entrance of this radiation to our body, leading to less harm to our energy. And this is a good medication to be used today, these quantum medications. And also all the metallic implants that orthopedic surgeons are using to fix bones and some in surgeries or dental implants, they can reduce this vital energy also, leading to more propensity to have any chronic disease, including Alzheimer's disease. And here are some other articles that I'm saying hospital infection nowadays. We cannot control all hospital infection nowadays, because nowadays all the programs that we are having are only controlling 1/3 of hospital infection, and the other 2/3 are still not controlled because of we are not studying the energy alterations in the root, and also do not consider the influence of the external pathogenic factors to control completely the hospital infection, and also the causes of the thrombosis that the patient are having after COVID-19 treatment or after the vaccines for COVID-19 also is caused by these energy alterations that the patient has in this background that we are still not studying, that is causing the thrombosis in any part of the body, such as myocardial infarction, strokes, thrombosis in the legs, in the abdomen, and leading to, but all these thrombosis is not caused by the virus, but is caused by the type of medication that we are using that is leading to less energy inside the internal massive organ and leading to less energy to circulate the blood, as I show you in the first slides of yin and yang blood and formation of internal fire. And when you say, oh, the vaccine did not cause the symptoms, because Western medicine's laboratory exams or radiological level, they cannot see the energy alterations that the patient is having because the energy is invisible by the naked eye, and they do not do this diagnosis because the energy alterations cannot be proved by the laboratory exams, but you can measure the energy. And that's why it's very important to us to begin to measure the energy of our patient, including us. Nowadays, we need to treat us because we are in the lowest level of energy, to improve our vital energy, improve our immune system to prevent the formation of many kinds of disease in the future, including Alzheimer's disease. And here's another article that I published that had a patient that had COVID-19. But she received so many antibiotics, corticosteroids in her treatment, and evolved to a pulmonary artery thrombosis 3 days after this treatment, after the acute phase of COVID-19. Here's to know what do we need to know to learn from this COVID-19 pandemic, and how can we prevent COVID-19 and other disease at the same time. This is only to show you that to learn from COVID-19, I'm saying in this article that all the COVID-19 alterations are the energy level that we are not still studying nowadays because of the implementation of a Flexner report in 1910. That he did the alterations in all medical schools and considered scientific only what they can prove by the radiological laboratory level. And that is why we need to understand that the human body is also made by energy, and it's this energy part that's altered in the human body that Western medicine is not still studying. But we need to know this is very important to us to know, to begin to treat this condition to prevent the formation of disease and also COVID-19. And also to prevent the formation of all kinds of disease at the same time. As I showed you, the treatment in the root is the real cause of formation of all disease in the leaf level. And if you treat the root and if you replenish the energy of the 5 internal massive organs in the root, you can prevent all kinds of disease in the leaf level. Here's to show you many other articles regarding chronic respiratory tract infection in children. How can we treat without using antibiotics? Here in this article, I'm explaining the all reasoning in the formation of infection, but it is related to the influence of the wind and cold. But not all patients that are exposed to wind and cold that is having infection, but is the person that is not having a normal energy to protect against this invasion. And when the patient that's submitted to wind and cold that is having some disease such as infectious disease is caused by these energy deficiencies. And that's why we need to treat the symptom, that is the infection itself. But what is causing this infection, that is the energy deficiency, we need to treat after the treatment of this infection to improve the immune system, to improve the energy of our patients. The patient that has Bell palsies also have these energy deficiencies, and this could be another presentation in the future. Patients with glaucoma, as I told you, all glaucoma is only a symptom. All the causes are in the root of that tree that we need to treat in all patients with glaucoma also. And only to say that all the tools used in this treatment of Alzheimer's disease, such as homeopathy and acupuncture, and are considered medical specialties by the Brazilian Federal Medical Council since 1998 and 1995. And I know that there are some countries in this world that do not consider them as medical specialties, but we need to use both kinds of tools in all kinds of treatment, in this case, Alzheimer's disease, to treat the root and not only the symptoms. Is to show you that to understand what is happening in patients with Alzheimer's disease in the energy point of view, we need to integrate Western and traditional Chinese medicine in this metaphor of yin and yang. And the conclusion of this study is that patient with Alzheimer's disease has energy deficiencies in the 5 internal massive organs or in the chakras energy centers, and the use of high diluted medication to replenish these internal massive organs using this theory that I created, constitutional homeopathy of the 5 elements, and also other tools, changing the dietary aspect, because if you replenish the energy, but if you don't orientate the patient to eat adeptly, to improve the absorption of nutrients, to do not harm even more the energy of the kidney, that is the main organ affected in Alzheimer's disease in TCM, we will maintain the energy imbalances that is leading to this symptom in the leaf level. According to Hippocrates, it's far more important to know which person has a disease than to know which disease the person has. In other words, he is saying that we need to treat the patient and not the disease. The disease are all in the leaf level. And if we treat the person, if we treat the patient, we are treating the root. And if we treat the leaf, we will harm the energy imbalances in the root, and the patient could not improve because of these energy alterations that is leading to maintenance of the disease formation. Thank you for your attention. Here's my email. If you want to talk with me, you can email me. Thank you very much.